Hello, chess friends. This is International Master Valeri Lilov, and today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, which has to do with how to attack against and trap an uncastled king. This is an interesting topic because a lot of people do castle. So you're probably wondering, why did I pick up to talk exactly about an uncastled king? Well, there is definitely a need to talk about how to attack a king in general. But I would like to express my thoughts and ideas as to how an attack really works, and how you can really set a trap around the opponent's king in different ways. So I'm really going to talk to you about this through a few very, very instructive examples. Let us begin with one of them right now. The first one that I would like to set up was actually played between two grandmasters. So it was played between Boris Spassky. Everybody knows who Spassky is. And his opponent was named after Nomo. Played in the 1950s, so it was like played 60 years ago. But it is a really instructive game, and there's a lot to learn from it. So basically, Spassky started the game with d4, c4, exchange, and then knight of 3. So this was basically how it all actually got set up. Knight of 6, e3, and pawn to the c5. So you can see that basically black was just setting up for a counterattack versus white's center. There's nothing bad about it. It's all going fine. Now, as soon as this is played, of course, we realize that white's also intending to just take the pawn back. And then after e6, just proceed with the castling. It's an easy development, and the setup just feels as good as it should be. The important thing about this line is just as White is actually bringing it forward, he's wanting to rely on a quick type of development, not based on some large tactical sequences or whatever else it is. Just how fast can I set my forces out? And it was good. It's a good line. After that, black basically plays with a6, queen e2, an indirect sort of attack going against the black queen. That will definitely happen once the rook arrives at the d1 square. So it's all fairly well executed. With that in mind, basically black plays b5, and then we could see that this leads to just bishop b3. White wants to keep the pin and maintain a good challenge over that diagonal. And black at the same time, of course, tries to do what he can do best, and this is to simply, utilize good activity towards the d4 pawn. So that's actually pretty important. After that, of course, white played with the move of knight of the c3, and things are going well. After that move, black plays c6d. Now, this is all theory. That's why I don't talk so much about it. White's plan is very clear. All he wants is to actually take back on d4 with the pawn. And while some people certainly believe that this type of pawn take is bad because it will weaken the white's pawn structure, create an isolated pawn and everything, I'm here to tell you that it isn't as bad as it seems. Taking on d4 with the pawn is going to secure a very important spot in e5. And it basically gives white a lot of activity. Remember, no attack is ever possible if activity isn't in place. So what really relies on the ability to, set his own forces together, and by bringing them close, when he plays with edicts to the d4, bishop g5, knight e5, this is going to definitely count. Takes to here, maybe rook to the d2, rook e1, bishop c2. It's a very good set of moves that will help us to advance forward. Now, in line with that idea, of course, white has a lot to show. Black actually decided to continue with bishop b7, and after edicts to the d, see a new threat arising from this pawn take. There is a serious d5 break. Now, this move is very important for a couple reasons. Not only because d5 is going to open up the position real quick, but also because if black's pieces stay undeveloped, any of the potential changes that will take place are not going to come in any favorable way. That basically means that black will be completely underprepared. So that was great. It's really well played by white. So edicts to the d4, knight b4. And this is actually the first question that I have for you guys. I really want to hear what you think about white's position. It is a solid position. We have a better development than black, and apparently white wants to prove that this can grow. The only question is how, because if black is given the time, he'll very quickly play with moves like bishop to the e7, and you know, it's actually pretty strong. He's going to go for a move of, rook to the. So, for example, now we could actually realize that there is a move bishop to d7, knight to the d5, easy ways of his piece development to follow. So, what should white try now? Let's see if anybody has a suggestion on what's white's best way to plan it. Anyone? See, being in such a position is challenging because you know that you have an advantage, but you have to be very quick and immediate about it. Bishop g5 is just going to lead to bishop to the e7, and black will likely finish up his development. You know what? While you're taking the time to think, I do want to suggest that that you take a look at the new course by Grandmaster Damien Lemush. It's a 9-hour course on the chess tactics and how to discover them. It comes with an incredible discount for a couple hours only, so please take a look at that. I put a link on the chat, or you could find a link right below this video. Basically, all those moves of knight g5 and others work, but the truth is d5. Absolutely. This is the kind of move that shows and basically props a necessary exchange in the middle. It's not just like a nice looking, oh, hey, let's just advance because the center looks good. It is something that is going to happen no matter what black does. And more importantly, if every piece of white is ready. This type of engaging move commits incredibly, but at the same time, white knows that it is a good committal move. We have the ability to play with the move of bishop to the g5. We have the ability to run down with, knight takes d5 and with other moves. So it is wonderful to see these type of sequences going in the way. Remember, Capablanca said, a player who has an advantage must immediately think about use under the threat that if he doesn't do so, he may lose his pressure or he may lose his advantage and he'll no longer be able to reclaim it. I love that type of explanation. It really kind of sums up what we got to be thinking about and we have to be considering in a position like that. With the d5, knight takes d5, and bishop g5, suddenly we realize how white's own forces come in place directly to attack and press black in different places. f6, d5, e6, the black king, the white rook. I mean, it's all in play. And then you see black, who just doesn't have the ability to, fight over here. I mean, you can do a move like, for example, bishop to the e7, but this is where white sets up bishop takes f6, and it's wonderful. This is the kind of resource that I call, breakthrough. People think about breakthrough like some big tactical line that's supposed to happen just when we're ready. But truth is, breakthroughs happen anytime when we simply want to make something out of those pieces, when we want to deliver different threats. It can happen through a pawn sacrifice or an exchange of a good guardian. In the end, the idea is that through those moves, we open new possibilities, new features to simply grow our attack and continue it forward. So that was really terrific for white, and certainly it didn't feel any good for black. So after that, bishop takes f6. You see that bishop takes f6 simply cannot happen. Black will lose a piece. Bishop takes due to the pin. So you couldn't really do that. And he couldn't really do anything else either, because if you see it, there's just no other way. Like, black is apparently in a very bad position here. His only way to go was to play with g takes f, which led to knight takes to the d5, bishop takes to the d5, bishop takes to the d, pawn takes to the d, and knight d4. And we see that what white is doing is he's playing the long game. This means he doesn't care about the temporary advantage or the good look of white's pieces looking towards the black king. All white cares about is, could he advance and exercise more tension against black's position that way. That was exactly what white wanted. And so this is very important. We have black guy tight. We've got the move of knight to the f5. That's quite huge. And, the reality is that black is awful. He has problems. His king has problems. And the rest of his pieces have problems. It's that type of sacrifice you're looking to do. Trapping the opponent's king isn't about checkmating him, as many people think. It is about trapping him in a bad or defensive position where we can apply more threats on a regular basis. And now black plays nothing but king f8. In fact, if you tried castles, there would have been knight c6 winning. So you tried king f8. So what do you suggest white should do now? Now you're thinking. That's a good sign. Keep looking. It's a lot of pressure. It's actually a very valuable position. But how do we do something here? Knight f5. Absolutely. Knight f5 was exactly what white wanted. Now we have that knight reaching down against the e7. G-file's open, so we definitely have the queen ready. But you see, it's again, white is, really looking at the long run. He doesn't care about whether in the short run there is going to be some big tactical line or anything happening. This is not important. The important is in the long run. What's going to happen? We keep the pressure. Now remember, pressure is when your opponent is tied down on the back, having to defend or just stay passive. Now, if you can succeed with that, this is the one thing that matters more. And so, this is very, very important. We get that knight out there, and then after that, in case of h5, white plays a rook takes d. Bang! There is a threat on the e7. There is a threat, an attack against the black queen. And then there is the f6, actually, that's going to be taken down. And I mean, it's amazing. It's just like, without the queen on the line to defend very well, there's nothing he can do to protect himself. It's the e7, f6, it's the black queen, it's the black king. It is basically every bad piece that white is intending to go after. What I love most is that this kind of final move shows that black was desperate. No matter where he would have gone or what he would have done differently, the truth is that, the queen would have been removed, and then, even if he didn't, sooner or later, that e7 bishop would have fallen. It was bad. And white knew it, and he was very successful as he exploited at that. Rook takes d5 really destroys. Black, of course, couldn't take it. If he did take it, as an immediate loss. So he moved away with the queen. Then white just got his own rook into the d1. And now you realize how every single piece more or less breaks it for black. Rook to the d7 is almost inevitable. He can't do anything to defend against these type of tactics. What I love about these positions is thinking about, you have to remember, think about pieces. The more pieces means like it's almost like more soldiers into the battle. The more pieces you bring, more capabilities you can expect. So you have to constantly think about increasing, the pressure. It was a great example, in fact, for the attack. In case black plays with something like rook to the d8, I mean black resigned, but in case he played something like this, white would have taken like with the queen, queen takes to e, and then after that, rook takes to the d8, queen takes queen e8, and white could just play even. I mean, if I'm white, I would play f3, and then I would do h4 and just wait. You see, this is very cruel, and yet very powerful because black can get away. This is the kind of position which you see how every move he tries to do, he's losing. If he takes on the d8, he gets checkmated. If he doesn't, if he moves the rook, white just going to go up with the king, maybe play rook d7. I mean, we could even take the queen, simply getting the piece up, but I mean, that's just detail. Apparently, black is lost already. He's been lost for quite a while now. What I really find amazing about this game from the very beginning, and by the way, if you want me to send you the annotations with my comments on this game, just feel free to message me. You can message me directly through my website, which is tigerlilov.com, or actually just send me an email. I'm just going to post like tigerlilov.com, or my email is valeri.lilov@gmail.com. So I put it on the chat. If you want me to send you those examples, I'll be more than happy to do so. So that you could probably take certain notes from these, and because they're very instructive. But what we really learn as a summary from this great game is that the amount of piece development and center control can help you to get incredible preparation, and then all it takes is just one move. Yeah, that's it. One move, and then the opponent is done. He has no way, he had no possibility to do anything different. It was so beautiful and efficient, and it worked. I want to show you another a similar game that actually suggests how we can trap the king. See, literally, in this game, black's king was trapped because it couldn't have castled and couldn't have done anything else. But in this next game, there was something else that happened. I want to show it to you. So hold on for a second. This game was played between Larsen and Spassky. It was played in Belgrade, 1970. Now, it was a really exciting game because there's a lot of instructive points, but I'd like to show it to you from black's perspective, basically, and a couple of points that really make a great sense to learn from. So here we go. Spassky was playing one of the black pieces. Let us take a look. So, uh, okay, now one of you said, I don't believe we have to castle our king every time. Well, sure, you don't have to, and you don't have to keep it protected, of course. But, that essentially diminishes your chances for success. So if you don't castle, you don't connect your rooks. If you don't connect your rooks, you don't get coordination between the pieces. If you don't get coordination between your pieces, you're likely not that strong. I mean, of course, there are exceptions, but we're talking about, major things, and the higher percentage suggests you have to castle. Some people would say, I know players, who basically admit there's no rules. Like I've heard about that. They say chess is a game, creative game. I can do whatever I want as long as I calculate right. I can do better. And when they lose, they say I lose because I don't have experience or my opponent's better. Not so. Rules must be followed. There are rules and principles that you have to keep in mind. And, this is a very valuable idea. It's really, really interesting. And, so actually right now in that position after b3, there was e5. And then after the move of e5, bishop b2, knight c6. See, the first rule is take the control of the center. We get space, we get command, and then after that, essentially, we do the move of pawn up to the e4. We have the bishop on the c5. That's really well placed. So black is just looking forward to making, the development go. So eventually, moves like d5 or e4 could play out as well. It's pretty good. White plays knight at the d4, and the result of this move, of course, is that black just, continues with the same move. He continued with okay, so it was here, 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 and this one, and it was good. Just why am I saying that? Well, because everything just felt right. It feels like Black is able to effectively develop those forces of his, and then take a look at the structure. I always say that what determines the success of any opening is the structure, the ways on how our pieces are positioned against the opponents and the other way around. If we just think about the simple structure of whites and blacks pieces right now, you're going to understand what I mean. White has no structure, or whatever his structure is, it feels weak, vulnerable, and very, very passive. His king on e1 is going to be easily targeted and possibly threatened. And the trouble is that once, of course, black gets the castle, there's going to be more. Remember that. The key is get more space and freedom. When people ask me, Valeri, can you explain Carlsen's strategy about how he plays so simple and so good? I always tell them Carlsen's strategy succeeds mainly because of one factor, and that's space. Space matters a lot. In his games, he always tries to find the structure or formation that really delivers more abilities and freedom for his pieces. If you look at this now, you'll understand why that is so. Ultimately, not only every piece of black is put on the most active position as opposed to to their counterparts, we're talking about the white pieces, but also, in addition, white has a weak pawn. The d2 pawn now turns out to be a significant problem as he cannot advance it any further, and his position or his pieces are awful. Wonderful, strong, and effective. If you look at, white, we understand why he's not doing too well. Bishop f5, queen to the c2, and then surely after the move of queen to the c2 as it was played, black actually did move queen to e7, and this is great. Just the majority of the majority of the pieces, especially white's own forces, are so badly placed that there is almost nothing that he can do, and that's where everything just falls for him. It's like queen e7, bishop e2. Larsen was actually trying to simply continue his development and make it work easily. And in some way, he's right to think about it that way. He's got to do it. If he has to do anything, first thing is he needs to find a way to castle and make it happen as quickly. If that does not work, it's really not going to work out in this type of position. So what goes in this position? What happens now? After the move of bishop to the e2, then, of course, black played with the move of long side castles. And so white plays with the move of pawn up to the f4. And so, of course, after that move, we have that knight of the g4. And then, we have that pressure against the e. And then ultimately, we have you have the opportunity to follow up with a move of pawn up to the g5. We have an extra tension. We've got good pieces, and most of white's own forces simply do not feel like they have the ability to go for it anyway. So that was great. That was a great line. After knight g4, white plays g3, and this is the moment where black has to advance. Like, does anybody have a suggestion on what black must do here? I mean, it's a very strong position, that's for sure. There is pressure and tension. We've got the e3 that is already in, under the challenge of black speed. So, like, what is the right way to move ahead at this moment? I'd like to know. I'd like to hear your thoughts as to what should black do now. Let's see. Well, first off, what was wrong with the bishop e2 move? I mean, what if b4 played as a gammon? b4 wouldn't have worked because black would have just taken, so it doesn't work. Um, H5, exactly. I always say that the success of any plan literally depends on two things. Okay. The first thing is we need to have more pieces. There's definitely something that Black is having right now. And the second thing is we need more lines, because without lines, truth is we can't go ahead. We can do the way we want to do things. So the reality is that in this position, Black just needs to go with H5. That's the kind of move that not only sets out to do the move of pawn up to the H4, but it also brings forward every bit of attacking piece that Black needs in the advance. So when White plays with H3, there was H4. So strong, so threatening, and so immediate. We don't need more. Most important thing that you got to understand isn't just the amount of pieces that you set out to attack or improve with. It is the way on how they get to do this, to attack together. So after H4, White, of course, played with the H6 to the G4. But then after the move H6 to the G4, it was actually perfect, because in this moment, it doesn't matter where White goes or what he does. It's like it's already over. This position led to H6 to the G, brilliant, strong, sequential. Now we understand the issue with the H1 rook that is felt all over. And then after the move of rook to the G1, there was rook H1. I think this is the most incredible move of all, which really kind of brings down the idea of what is most necessary in an attack. It's never about one or two pieces. It's never about the lines. It's never even about a target. Although these things do matter, of course, they do count. It is about how you can continue it. And so what we have to do is to follow up against, like our opponents strongly, effectively. It just follows. Remember, the follow up is everything. When you are thinking about the possibilities of a follow up, it's impossible that he does anything. So you have that White played rook takes H1 in that position. And of course, we have the ability to play with the move of G2. So we have the attack against the opponent's position. And that's a great way to go. What about White? Well, he can play with the move of rook to the F1. I mean, he could have played rook to the G1 in this moment. But then there is queen H4, king D1, queen H1. And then we see the beauty of every single piece that's really transforming in the attack. It is amazing. Step forth in line with the attack and the extra pressure against our opponent. It's a good one to say. No way of no way for a defense, especially if you played with rook takes H1. Then there would have been G takes H. It's constructive and it's amazing. I believe this game was already undefendable the moment the pawn came to H5. In fact, I believe that White's mistake was, in fact, to even exchange in the C6 or even play knight D4. It goes as early as that. But what is so brilliant, is that how everything was done on the base of Black's beautiful and active pieces. That's all that there was. Get the pieces out, use the structure to continue. And remember that the secret to any successful attack are these two things that will always count: piece activity and open lines. Of course, we do need a target as well, but these are the two most important. So now I want to show you another super instructive game that I find, really great from Grandmaster Damien Lemosh's course. Once again, I do want to encourage all of you to take a look at the link below this video, because these are all examples from his course. He's being incredibly, kind to provide them, for this webinar. And basically, he's offering this 9-hour course on the chess tactics. This is his master class on chess tactics, for an incredible 50% discount. So it's a brilliant course at an incredibly cheap price. You can take a look at it below the video.